Jesse Carter rode his horse across the dry, open land under a pale morning sky. The sun had just risen, painting the distant hills in soft gold and red. The air was cool, but it would grow hot by noon. Jesse knew this land well. He had lived here for 3 years on a small ranch far from towns and noisy people. He liked it that way. He wasn't a man of many words. He spoke more to his horse, Dolly, than to anyone else. His boots were worn, his jeans dusty, and his brown hat pulled low over his forehead to block the sun. A rifle rested in a leather case by his side, but Jesse hoped he wouldn't need it. He had come from Missouri as a young man, looking for peace, not trouble. He found it in this quiet stretch of Arizona, where the wind sang through the sagebrush, and the only sounds most days were the creak of his saddle and the call of a hawk high above. He had been into Flagstaff the day before to buy supplies: flour, coffee, salt, and a new pair of boots. The town was growing, filled with loud men, wagons, and the smell of smoke and sweat. Jesse didn't like it much, but he needed the things he couldn't grow or make himself. Now he was on his way home, tired and thirsty, eager to sit on his porch and watch the stars come out. As he followed the dry creek bed, something caught his eye. A small movement beneath a twisted mesquite tree. At first, he thought it was an animal, maybe a fox or a young coyote. But when he rode closer, he saw it was a boy. The boy was curled up on the ground, his arms wrapped around his knees, or torn clothes that looked like they had once been part of a blanket or old coat. His face was dirty, his lips cracked, and his dark hair hung in tangles. Jesse stopped Dolly and slid off the horse slowly, not wanting to scare the child. "Hey," he said softly. "You all right?" The boy didn't answer. He lifted his head just a little, his eyes wide and full of fear. He looked like he hadn't eaten in days. Jesse could see the bones in his arms, the way his chest rose and fell too quickly. He wasn't moving to run, but he didn't trust the stranger either. Jesse took a step back and sat down on a flat rock a few feet away. He didn't want to seem like a threat. He reached into his saddlebag and pulled out a piece of dried beef and a canteen of water. "Here," said, holding the food and water out. "You look like you could use this." The boy stared at the food, then at Jesse, then back at the food. His hands trembled. After a long moment, he crawled forward on his knees and took the canteen with both hands. He drank slowly at first, then faster, gulping the water like he couldn't get enough. Jesse didn't say anything. He just waited. When the boy finished, he handed the canteen back and looked at the piece of jerky. Jesse nodded. "Double quotes, go ahead, it's yours." This time, the boy didn't hesitate. He took the jerky and ate it in small bites, chewing carefully, like he was afraid his stomach wouldn't take it. Jesse watched him, his heart heavy. He had seen hunger before, but never in a child like this. "What's your name?" Gently, the boy didn't answer right away. Finished the jerky and wiped his mouth with the back of his hand. "Kai," he whispered. "Kai," Jesse repeated. "That's a good name." He paused, then asked, "Where are your people?" Looked down. His fingers dug into the dirt. After a long silence, he said, "Gone." Jesse didn't push. He knew some stories were too heavy to tell in the open sun. Instead, he stood up and patted Dolly's neck. "Well, Kai, you can't stay out here. It's too hot in the day and too cold at night. Come on, I've got a place not far from here. You can rest. Get strong." He helped the boy onto the horse, lifting him gently. Kai was light, too light for his age. He held on to Jesse's back as they rode, his body stiff with fear and exhaustion. The ranch came into view after an hour, just a small wooden house, a barn, a corral, and a well. A thin line of smoke rose from the chimney. Jesse had built it, all with his own hands. It wasn't much, but it was home. He carried Kai inside and laid him on the cot near the stove. The room was simple wooden floor, a table, 2 chairs, shelves with jars and tools. Jesse filled a pot with water and set it on the stove to heat. Then he pulled out a can of beans and a small piece of bacon. "You need real food," he said. "This'll help." While the food cooked, he brought a cloth and a bowl of warm water. He cleaned Kai's face and hands gently. The boy didn't flinch, but he watched Jesse's every move, like he was waiting for something bad to happen. "You're safe now," Jesse said. "No one's going to hurt you here." Kai didn't smile, but something in his eyes softened. When the beans were warm, Jesse served them in a tin bowl with a spoon. Kai ate slowly, then faster, finishing every bite. Jesse smiled. "Good, huh?" Kai nodded, then whispered, "Thank you." Jesse sat across from him. "You're Apache?" Kai nodded again. "I thought so. I've seen your people from afar." They stayed at the high ground near the canyons. Kai looked up. "Soldiers came. Burned our camp. My father, my mother. They took them. I ran. I walked. Many days." Jesse felt a deep anger in his chest, but he kept his voice calm. "I'm sorry, son. It's not right." He didn't say more. Didn't need to. The pain in Kai's voice said enough. After dinner, Jesse gave him a clean blanket and showed him the cot. "Sleep. You're safe. I'll be right here." Sat by the window, his rifle across his lap. Not because he expected trouble, but because it made him feel steady. Outside, the wind moved through the trees. A coyote howled in the distance. Jesse sipped black coffee and watched the stars. He thought about Kai. A boy alone in the wild, hungry, scared. Most men would have ridden past. Some might have even chased him off, afraid of what he represented. But Jesse wasn't most men. He remembered being young, losing his own parents to sickness on the trail west. He knew what it was like to be alone. By midnight, the house was quiet. Kai slept deeply, breathing slow and even. Jesse banked the fire and sat in his chair dozing. Off and on, he dreamed of wide plains and running deer, of silence and freedom. But just before dawn, he woke with a start. There was a sound low and steady, like distant thunder. But there were no clouds, no storm. He stepped outside, his boots crunching on the dry earth. Then he saw them. On the ridge above his land, shadows moved, dozens at first, then more. Men on horseback, riding in silence, their feathers and paint. Caught the first light of morning, their drums beat slow and deep, not like a war song, but like a heartbeat. Jesse didn't move. He didn't run. He stood in his yard, heart pounding, watching as they came closer. They didn't charge. They didn't shout. They formed a line at the edge of his property and stopped. Jesse went back inside and woke Kai gently. "Son, there's something you should see." Kai rubbed his eyes and followed him to the door. When he saw the riders, he froze. "That's my father," he whispered, pointing to a man in the front. "Toma." Jesse looked at the man. He was tall, with long black hair tied with leather and eagle feathers in his hair. He carried himself like a leader. He dismounted and walked forward alone. Jesse stepped out to meet him, hands open at his sides. Toma stopped a few feet away. He looked at Jesse, then at Kai, who ran to him and hugged him tightly. The older man placed a hand on his son's head, then spoke, his voice low but clear. "You took care of him?" Jesse nodded. "He was hungry. I couldn't leave him." Tahoma studied Jesse's face for a long moment. Then he said, "Many would have turned him away. Some would have hurt him, just for being who he is." "Shh. I'm not those men," Jesse said. Toma gave a small nod. "I know. We watched you. We saw you bury the soldier last winter. We saw you give water to the stray dog. You are a man of kindness." Jesse didn't know what to say. He just looked at the hundreds of warriors behind Tahoma, silent and still. "Because you saved my son," Tahoma said. "My people will not harm you. This is our promise. As long as you live, you will be safe among us." Jesse felt a lump in his throat. He hadn't done anything special, just what any decent man would do. But to Kai, to his father, it had meant everything. The sun rose higher. The drums stopped. Tahoma placed a hand on Jesse's shoulder. "You have the heart of a true man," he said. "Remember that?" Then he turned, mounted his horse, and led his people away. Fading into the morning light like ghosts, Jesse stood there for a long time, watching them go. Kai stood beside him, quiet. Finally, Jesse said, "You want to stay? Help me with the horses." Kai looked up at him, and for the first time, he smiled. "Yes," he said. And so the day began, not with fear, but with peace. Peace born from a single act of kindness in a hard and lonely world. The morning sun climbed higher, painting the dry land in soft gold. The air was still, and the only sound was the soft rustle of sagebrush in the breeze. Jesse Carter stood in his yard, watching the last of the warriors disappear over the ridge. Their horses moved like shadows, silent and steady, until they were gone. It felt like a dream, something too strange to be real. Kai stood beside him, his small hand gripping the edge of his torn shirt. He looked up at Jesse, his dark eyes full of questions. "They're gone," Jesse said softly. Kai nodded. "They came to say thank you." Jesse wasn't sure he deserved thanks. He had only given a boy food and a place to sleep, but to Kai's people it meant more. It meant trust. It meant respect. "You want some breakfast?" Jesse asked Kai. Nodded again. Inside the small house, Jesse lit the stove and heated a pot of beans. He fried a few strips of bacon in a cast-iron pan. The smell filled the room, warm and rich. Kai sat at the table, watching every move. He still looked tired, but his color was better. His hands didn't shake like they had the day before. "You eat as much as you want?" Jesse said, placing a full plate in front of him. Kai didn't wait. He ate with care, savoring each bite. When he finished, he looked up and said, "I can help. I can work." Jesse smiled. "You don't have to prove anything. You're safe here. That's enough." But Kai wanted to help. After breakfast, he followed Jesse outside. The ranch wasn't big, just a barn, a corral, a small field where Jesse grew corn and beans, and a well that needed daily use. Dolly the mare and 2 other cows stood in the shade, chewing their cud. "First thing," Jesse said, "we feed the animals." 8. Kai watched as Jesse carried hay from the barn and placed it in the trough. He copied him, lifting what he could. He was small, but he tried hard. Jesse didn't stop him. He saw pride in the boy's eyes, and that was important. A man needed to feel useful. After the animals were fed, Jesse showed Kai how to pump water from the well. The handle was stiff, and it took strength. Kai struggled at first, but Jesse stood behind him, guiding his hands. Push down, then pull. Up, steady rhythm. After a few tries, Kai got it. Water splashed into the bucket, cool and clear. "I did it," he said, a small smile on his face. Jesse ruffled his hair. "You did. Good job." They carried the water to the animals and filled the house bucket. Then Jesse handed Kai a rag and a bar of soap. "Time to wash up. You've earned it." Kai looked at the soap like it was something rare. He scrubbed his arms and face, then washed his hair with care. Jesse gave him an old shirt and a pair of pants that were too big, but they were clean. Kai rolled the sleeves and tied the waist with a piece of rope. "You look like a real ranch hand now," Jesse said with a grin. Kai didn't smile back, but his eyes sparkled. As the day passed, Jesse taught him more how to mend a fence, how to check for leaks in the roof, how to keep the stove from smoking too much. Kai listened closely, repeating each task until he got it right. He didn't talk much, but he paid attention. By late afternoon, Jesse sat on the porch with a cup of coffee. Kai sat beside him, quiet, watching the sun dip behind the hills. "Do you think they'll come back?" Kai asked. "Your people?" "Maybe, but they don't need to. They know you're safe." Kai looked down. "I miss them." Jesse nodded. "I understand. Family is important, but you're not alone now. You've got a friend in me." Kai looked up. "You're not like the other white men." "No," Jesse said. "I guess I'm not." He didn't hate the native people. He didn't fear them. He had seen too much pain on both sides. Soldiers burning villages, settlers stealing land, men killing each other over pride and fear. Jesse wanted none of it. He just wanted to live in peace. That night they ate cornbread and beans by the fire. Jesse played a small harmonica, a soft tune that floated into the dark. Kai listened, his eyes half closed. "My father sings like that," he said. "With the drum?" "Maybe you can teach me one day," Jesse said. Kai didn't answer, but he nodded. The next morning, Jesse saddled Dolly and pointed to the trail. "I need to check the north fence. Come with me." Kai climbed up behind him, holding onto Jesse's coat. They rode slowly across the land, past dry creeks and rocky outcrops. Jesse pointed out animal tracks: a rabbit, a coyote, even a mountain lion. "You learn to read the land," Jesse said. "Tells you things." Kai looked at the ground, studying the marks. "This is deer," he said, pointing. Jesse was surprised. "You know that? My father taught me." "Well, you're good at it." They reached the fence and found a broken post. Jesse got off and started to fix it. Kai helped, holding the wood while Jesse nailed it in place. As they worked, Jesse heard hoof beats. He looked up and saw 2 riders coming fast. His heart jumped. He reached for his rifle. But as they got closer, he saw they were settlers' men from the nearby valley. One wore a badge. The sheriff. Jesse stood tall. Keeping his hands where they could be seen, the sheriff pulled up, his horse breathing hard. He looked at Jesse, then at Kai. "Heard a story," the sheriff said, "that a band of Apache showed up at your place last night?" "Hundreds of them." Jesse stayed calm. "They came. They left." The sheriff's eyes narrowed. "What do they want?" "The boy," Jesse said, placing a hand on Kai's shoulder. "He's Apache. I came for him, but he's staying with me, if that's all right." The other man, a farmer named Hank, spat on the ground. "You're keeping an Indian boy? You know they're dangerous? Stole my chickens last spring." Jesse looked at him. "Did you see them steal, or did you just assume?" Hank frowned. "Don't get smart with me." "I'm not," Jesse said. "I'm saying this boy was starving. I fed him. His people came to thank me. No one got hurt. No one made trouble." The sheriff studied Jesse's face. "You're a quiet man, Jesse. Always have been, but this is risky. People will talk." "Let them talk," Jesse said. "I did what was right." The sheriff sighed. "Just watch yourself. Not everyone sees things like you do." He rode off, leaving dust in the air. Kai looked up at Jesse. "They don't like me." Jesse knelt down. "Some people are afraid of what they don't understand, but that doesn't make them right. You belong here if you want to. That's what matters." Kai didn't say anything, but he stood a little taller. Back at the ranch, Jesse showed Kai how to milk the cows. It was messy at first, but Kai learned fast. He liked the rhythm of the work, the way each day brought new things to do. That evening, as they sat on the porch, Jesse saw something in the distance. A single rider coming slow. It was Toma. Jesse stood up. Kai ran to the edge of the yard. Toma dismounted and walked forward. He carried a small bundle wrapped in cloth. "I came to say goodbye," he said, "and to give this." He handed the bundle to Kai. Inside was a small bow carved from ash wood and 3 arrows with eagle feathers. "For protection," Toma said, "and for honor." Kai looked at Jesse, then at his father. "You can stay," Toma said, "or you can come home. The choice is yours." Kai looked at the bow, then at Jesse. Finally, he said, "I want to stay for now." Toma placed a hand on his son's head. "Then I will visit. You will always be my son." He turned to Jesse. "You've given him more than food. You've given him peace. That is a rare gift." Jesse nodded. "He's earned it." Toma mounted his horse and rode away without looking back. Kai held the bow tightly. "I will learn to use it. I'll help," Jesse said. Night fell. The stars came out, bright and clear. Jesse sat on the porch, sipping coffee. Kai sat beside him, cleaning the arrows with a soft cloth. The land was quiet. The wind whispered through the trees. Somewhere far off, a coyote called. Jesse didn't know what the future would bring. He knew people would talk. Maybe some would come with anger. Maybe others would come with questions. But for now there was peace. A boy had found safety. A man had kept his word. And in a world full of noise and hate, that was something worth protecting. Weeks passed, and life on Jesse Carter's ranch settled into a quiet rhythm. Each morning began the same way: sunrise over the hills, the smell of coffee on the stove, and the soft sound of boots on wooden floor. Kai woke early, just like Jesse, and helped with the chores without needing to be told. He fed the animals, cleaned the troughs, and mended small breaks in the fence. He was learning fast, not just the work, but the way of living on the land. Jesse noticed how the boy changed. His face filled out from good meals. His eyes, once full of fear, now looked around with curiosity. He still didn't talk much, but when he did, his voice was stronger. He asked questions about the stars, the weather, the way horses knew when rain was coming. Jesse answered as best he could. Sometimes they didn't know the answer, so they just sat and wondered together. One morning, Jesse handed Kai a small knife with a wooden handle. "It's yours," he said, "for cutting rope, cleaning tools, or if you ever need to protect yourself." Kai took it slowly, like it was something sacred. He tied it to his belt with a piece of leather and nodded. "Thank you." Jesse smiled. "You're part of this place now. Should have what you need." They spent that day checking the far edge of the property, where the land rose into rocky slopes. Jesse wanted to make sure no wild animals had broken in or damaged the water pipes. Kai walked beside him, his new bow on his back, his eyes scanning the ground. "Look," Kai said. Suddenly pointing to a set of tracks in the soft dirt, Jesse knelt down. "Coyote, maybe a pair. They've been near the corral." "They won't take the cows," Kai said, "not with us here." "But they might try for the chickens." Jesse was surprised. "You know a lot about animals. My father taught me. The land speaks. You just have to listen." Jesse nodded. "You're right." They set a small wooden trap away from the barn, not to kill, but to scare. Jesse didn't like killing unless it was for food or true danger. Kai agreed. That night, they heard a yelp in the distance. The trap had worked. Days turned into weeks. Spring was coming. The air grew warmer, and green shoots pushed through the dry soil. Jesse planted beans and corn in the small garden behind the house. Kai helped, placing the seeds in the ground just right, the way his people had always done. "You're better at this than me," Jesse said, laughing. "My mother taught me," Kai said quietly. "She said the earth is our mother too." Jesse didn't answer right away. Each looked at the boy, working with care, like he was giving something back to the land. One afternoon, a dust cloud appeared on the trail. Jesse watched from the porch, hand shading his eyes. A wagon was coming, pulled by 2 tired horses. It moved slow, rocking over the rough ground. When it reached the yard, an older man stepped down. He wore a long coat and a hat with a broken brim. A woman and 2 young boys followed. They looked worn out, their clothes dusty, their faces tired. "Name's Leon," the man said. "We're heading west. Heard there's land near the river. Can we rest here a spell?" "Our horses need water." Jesse nodded. "Sure. Water's at the well. You're welcome to it." He brought out a jug of cool water and some bread. The woman named Ellen thanked him with tired eyes. The boys ran to the corral, staring at the cows and Dolly. Kai watched. From the door, holding his bow, Jesse went to him. "They're just passing through. Like us, they need help." Kai nodded but stayed near the house. As the family rested, Jesse spoke with Leon. "You heading far? Oregon, maybe? Heard the soil's good there. We lost our farm back in Kansas. Drought took everything," Jesse understood. Land could be kind or cruel, depending on the year. "You take care on the trail," Jesse said. "Not everyone you meet will be friendly." Leon nodded. "I know, but we've got no choice." That night, Jesse cooked extra beans and shared his fire. The boys sat close, eating fast. Len thanked him again. Kai stayed quiet, but he watched the family. Later, he went to Jesse. "They look like we did," he said. "It's no home, no food." Jesse put a hand on his shoulder. "We were lucky. Maybe we can help them be lucky too." In the morning, Jesse gave Leon a sack of flour, some salt, and a map he had drawn of the safest trails. "Avoid the South Pass," he said. "Soldiers have a camp there. They stop wagons for no reason." Leon shook his hand. "You're a good man, Jesse." "I won't forget this." As the wagon rolled away, Kai waved. It was the first time Jesse had seen him do that. But not everyone who came was kind. A few days later, 3 men arrived on horseback. They wore rough clothes and wide hats pulled low. One carried a rifle across his lap. They stopped in the yard, their horses kicking up dust. Heard you're keeping an Indian boy, the tallest one said. Is that true? Jesse stood in front of the house, calm. He lives here. His name's Kai. He's part of this ranch. The man laughed. Part of it? You gone soft, Carter? Next thing, you'll be dancing with them in the moonlight. Jesse. Didn't move. He's a child. He was starving. I helped him, that's all. The second man spat. Ain't natural. They're savages. Killed my brother up near the canyon. I didn't kill your brother, Kai said, stepping forward. I was alone. I didn't hurt anyone. Men turned to him, eyes cold. You best stay in the house, boy, the first man said. Before we decide you don't belong here. Jesse stepped between them. He stays. And if you want trouble, you'll have to go through me. The three men looked at each other. They knew Jesse wasn't a fighter, but he stood tall, his hand near his rifle. They also knew the land was wide, and justice was far. A fight here would leave no witnesses. This ain't over, the leader said. People are talking. You're breaking the peace. I'm keeping peace, Jesse said, by doing what's right. They rode off, kicking up dust, shouting. Curses over their shoulders. Kai stood still, his hands clenched. They'll come back, he said. Maybe Jesse said. But we'll be ready. That night, Jesse checked the locks on the doors. He cleaned his rifle and placed it by the bed. Kai sat on his cot, holding his bow. I can fight, he said. I know, Jesse said. But we won't, unless we have. 2. We're not looking for war. Kai looked at the floor. My people don't want war either. We just want to live. Then that's what we'll do, Jesse said. Live and be kind. That's how peace grows. The next morning, Jesse took Kai to the high ridge, the same place where the warriors had stood. From there, they could see for miles. Rolling land, dry creeks, distant mountains. Look, Jesse said, pointing. That's where the soldiers' camp is, and over there, the settlers' fields. And here this little piece is ours. Looked at the land, then at Jesse. It's small, but it's free, Jesse said, and it's safe. For you, for me, for anyone who comes in peace. Kai nodded. I want to protect it, and we will, Jesse said. Together. Stayed on the ridge until sunset. The sky turned red and purple. A hawk circled above, riding the wind. As they walked back, Jesse said, You know, your father gave you that bow for a reason. It's not just to hunt, to stand tall, to be strong. Kai touched the feathers on the arrows. I will. When they reached the house, Jesse lit the stove and made coffee. Kai sat at the table, sharpening the tip of an arrow with a small stone. Outside, the wind blew soft through the trees. The stars came out one by one. Jesse knew the world was full of hate. He knew. Men would come again, maybe with guns, maybe with anger. But he also knew something else. One act of kindness could start a ripple. One boy saved could change more than one life. And as long as he drew breath, this small piece of land would be a place of shelter. It's not because it was strong, but because it was kind. That night, Jesse looked at Kai. Now sleeping soundly, his bow close by, he whispered, You're home. And in the quiet dark, the words hung like a promise.